Hey there, soulful energy seekers. Are you tired of dragging your tired body out of bed every morning, feeling like you're already behind on the day? Well, you're not alone. Did you know that over 60% of Americans suffer from low morning energy? But the cost of low energy isn't just feeling sluggish. It could be costing you productivity, happiness, and even years off your life. Now here's the thing. Most people are starting their day playing a metabolically dangerous game. They're either skipping breakfast or fueling up with something that barely resembles food, slowing them down and, believe it or not, risking all-cause mortality. Why? Because the right food is fuel as well as medicine, and digestion takes up to 30% of our precious energy. But fear not, we've got a game-changing solution for you based on functional medicine and Ayurvedic wisdom. Introducing the free Morning Energy Delicious Smoothie Guide by Love Energy Wellness. It's the proven strategy to kickstart your day, and you'll start feeling satisfied and energized in just days. Picture this. The famous Purple Crush, a blend of antioxidant-rich berries and energy-boosting greens, or the Sweet and Spicy, a tantalizing mix of metabolism-igniting spices. And for all of you coffee lovers out there, we've got a coffee smoothie that'll make your morning extra perky, all while getting the purest vitamins and minerals and protein that your body needs. Those are some of my favorites. Our guide has many, many more. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds difficult, but the best part is it's incredibly easy to implement. Trust me, I don't miss how I used to eat. I don't miss how tired I used to feel. And now, I don't miss a morning without my favorite all-natural energy breakfast. Say goodbye to morning fatigue and hello to revitalized you. Get your free Morning Energy Delicious Smoothie Guide today at loveenergywellness.com, or simply check the show notes for the link. Transform your mornings, transform your life, because you deserve to start every day with energy. Cheers to a vibrant, energized you. Now enjoy the program. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another illuminating episode of Breaking Boundaries, where purpose-driven seekers and entrepreneurs converge to explore the frontiers of wellness, innovation, and consciousness. Today, we embark on a journey into a realm that touches the very fabric of our existence, the unsettling surge in chronic health conditions. In a world where the needle seems to be moving in the wrong direction, a collective awakening is taking place. More and more individuals are turning their gaze towards the longevity solution. And it's not just a matter of extending years, but enhancing vitality and the quality of life throughout those years. Join us as we navigate the currents of this burgeoning awareness, weaving through the intricate tapestry of integrative health, a harmonious fusion of cutting-edge science and timeless ancient wisdom. It's a profound exploration that transcends conventional boundaries, inviting us to reevaluate our approach to well-being in the pursuit of a more vibrant, purposeful, and connected existence. Hello, I'm Jeffrey Mort. If you're like most entrepreneurs, you're busy taking care of business, yet who's taking care of you? If you're ready to take your energy and performance to the next level in your life and your business, then this podcast is for you. Because today, you're going to start breaking boundaries of your mind, body, and business with integrative health. And when you do that, your possibilities are limitless. I'm grateful you're here. Yes, I am so grateful for you joining me here today, my friend. Welcome to another Healthy Thursday episode of the Breaking Boundaries podcast for purpose-driven entrepreneurs. This is episode number 38. And of course, as always, you'll want to stay till the end when we bring it all together on how to avoid failure and reach your next level of success with integrative health. And for all those show notes and links, visit jeffreymort.com and click on the podcast button. Shout out to our listeners today from east to west, Camden, New York, Columbus, Ohio, and Castro Valley, California. I appreciate you, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate that I get to do this podcast. I appreciate that you listen each and every week, and I appreciate that you share this podcast with those that you feel it can serve. Today, you're going to discover that the future of health has arrived today. That's right. You no longer have to wait for a solution to slow, to stop, and to literally reverse chronic health conditions. And yes, even reverse biological age. Although you will not hear this in mainstream media sources, those amazing things are already happening today. And we are on the leading edge of wellness. Even if you're the kind of purpose driven seeker, purpose driven entrepreneur who values your health as your greatest asset, well, because honestly, if you don't have that, then what else do you have? Well, then you may still just have boundaries. And I'm talking about things like rapid biological aging. Yes, having less energy, hair loss, thinning hair, your skin just isn't looking and feeling the way that it wants, it used to. Maybe it's becoming rough or getting spots on it or sagging, or becoming wrinkled. Maybe you're having issues like low libido and you've just lost that zest for life. And then, of course, there's cognitive issues that can start off with something simple as brain fog, and then lead to something more serious like forgetfulness. Maybe you've noticed that your ability to learn has become less and less, or perhaps your desire to learn new things has become less and less. Maybe you have become easily distracted. Hey, what's that over there? Um, and, maybe getting more pain throughout your body, maybe more discomfort, maybe having headaches more often, and then more unwanted symptoms. Those usually lead to more medical doctor appointments, which usually lead to being on more medications, which unfortunately usually lead to more symptoms. And that is just a broken model. But the good news is that there is hope. There is hope because we, like I said, are on the cutting edge of health. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about high performance health. We're talking about high performance energy. And this is the future of health. And now, up front, I have to give my standard disclaimer here because I'm not giving you medical advice. But what we are doing, we're not diagnosing, we're not treating, we're not curing any diseases here. But what we're looking at is that root cause of the problem. And let's talk about what health looked like prior to 1980. Obesity was on the rise after 1980, according to the National Library of Medicine, and I'll link up that research in the show notes today. But prior to 1980, like obesity really wasn't a problem, especially a little bit earlier than that in the 1970s. It really wasn't an issue, but I'll tell you, it was that damned food pyramid that the government came out with in the United States that really leaned people more towards a dysregulated diet and having a very imbalanced diet. And unfortunately, that was skewed. That food pyramid was skewed by by money, unfortunately, and greed. But anyways, I digress. The food was different back then. Food was different back in the 50s and 60s and 70s because the soil wasn't as depleted from its minerals and its vitamins as it is today. It wasn't over farmed like it is. The government wasn't subsidizing farmers to grow things that were a negative in their balance sheet. Unfortunately, that's where things led. But then, of course, the agriculture industry started implementing things where they were spraying the foods with pesticides and herbicides, and then the crops weren't doing so good. So then they used science to come up with genetically modified organisms that were more resistant to the pesticides and the herbicides and things like that. And of course, when we're eating this food, we're eating those toxins. And even if you are washing your food off, like the toxins, the pesticides, the herbicides got into the dirt and then grew up inside of the plants. So now we're taking in these toxins from the plants. Plus, the genetically modified organism is a modified genetic profile. So now that is a program that you're putting into your body, or downloading that program into the body and eating that genetically modified program, which is programming your body. So unfortunately, like I said, food was so different. And then back then, they were much less sedentary lifestyles. People weren't really working from home and having computer jobs back in the 1980s. Of course, there was sit down jobs and typewriters and secretarial positions and things like that, of course, all the way from, the beginning of time when business was established. However, as time went on, getting into the 90s and the 2000s, and then here we are in 2023, there's so many lifestyles that are completely sedentary. So people just aren't getting that movement. And our environment, right, those environmental toxicities today, compared to that back then, there was much cleaner air back then. There was much cleaner water back then. And really, that's the foundation of health right there, is clean air, clean water, and clean food. But that's not what we're talking about today. That is just the basics of it. But here we are 4 decades later from 1980. But that's hard to believe, isn't it? 4 decades later from 1980. And when you step back and you look at the trend towards dis-ease of the body over that 4 decades, and the fact that the average lifespan statistic is, get this, it's on a rapid decline for the first time since the 1920s. So in 2019, the estimated lifespan for Americans was 79 years old, and it went down 3 years to 76 years old by 2021, according to Harvard Health. And we'll link that up in the show notes as well. But here we are 3 years later, and it's still lower than that, which is, it's frightening. It absolutely is frightening. Things like Parkinson's and dementia and Alzheimer's are on the rise as well. So, there's a new case of dementia worldwide every 3.2 seconds. That's over 10 million new cases of dementia each year. Now, I'm not here to create fear, just awareness of the circumstances, awareness of how things are trending, not just in America, but in globally in the world today with humanity and with disease. So I'm not here to create fear, and I'm certainly not here to be working from circumstance, because if we're working from circumstance, that is just as much of a broken model as the conventional medical industry today. Although we need them, we do need them. I'm not against conventional medicine. Let's be clear on that. But I'm also here to bring awareness of the solution, which most are not. Most are not aware of the solution. So we talked a little bit about the problem. I don't want to keep beating that drum, because where you focus your attention is what grows. So I don't want to put all my attention on, the negative trends of the lifespan and negative trends of health and conventional medicine, things like that. I'm not here for that. But bringing awareness to the solution, I want to give you a plan. And let's talk about how poor health is a boundary, right? It's keeping people from living their purpose. If their focus is on their poor health and they just don't have the energy and the drive and that zest, they're not able to focus on their purpose and being out there to serve as their highest self. They're not able to express their love. This is going to impair their relationships, not just relationships with their spouse or their partner or their children, but also with themselves. It's going to impair it's going to be a boundary for love, for sure. And it's going to be a boundary for their goals as well, whether that's, goals in life. Maybe the goal is to, live a long and healthy life, but that's just not happening. Maybe the goal is business. Maybe it's to be able to create a business that serves a purpose in this world and helps other people to be able to, get to a certain point in their life, which is fantastic. I love that. And that's what I mean when I'm talking about purpose-driven entrepreneurs. But imagine life without those problems. Imagine having vitality. Imagine having longevity. Imagine having low risk for all-cause mortality, things like cardiovascular disease, things like high blood pressure, stroke, type 2 diabetes. dementia, Alzheimer's, and yes, even that wild card cancer. That is possible. Let me ask you, let's reframe this here. Let me ask you something. If you knew you were going to be healthy and full of vitality to 100 years old and beyond, and that is 100% possible. It's being done right now, and that's what I'm talking about today. 100% possible. So if you knew you were going to be healthy and full of vitality to 100 years old and beyond, how would you show up differently every single day? How would that change how you showed up? How would that change your long game, your long-term plans, your planning, your financial planning, your career choices, your life choices? Most people hope just to get to, 70 years old, maybe 64 years old and retire. And then they hope they maybe have another 5 or 10 good solid years left before they, are unable to be able to do those things. And there's actually a study out there. I don't have it to link up in today's show, but there's a study out there. I'll see if I can find it, that refers to a questionnaire that was put out where it asked people if they wanted to live to, I forget what the age was, but let's just say it's, 95 years old. And most of them said no, because the misnomer is that at 95 years old, you're going to be a burden to other family members. You're not going to have your memory. You're not going to have your cognition. You're not going to have vitality. You're not going to be able to do things. And you're going to have all these health risks and probably be on medications, because that is the common misnomer. That is the overarching theme on old age, is that, we're just not able at that age. But there are plenty of people that are in their 90s that are still doing absolutely amazing things. I'm talking about like triathletes and people that are running marathons into their 80s and 90s, because they've done these things that we're going to outline in our high performance energy program coming up at Love Energy Wellness. So, we're already living to 100 years old. And I'm not just talking about some random individuals. I'm talking about blocks of society, these cultures and communities that have centenarians throughout them. We're able to reverse biological age. We're able to reverse things like Alzheimer's and dementia and cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, there are research is demonstrating right now that in laboratory environments, they are reversing blindness, and they're reversing things like gray hair, which is synonymous with growing old, with aging. And these are in mice studies, but mice are very significant in studying human physiology or biology, I should say, because the mice have very similar systems, as I've outlined in previous podcast episodes. Previous podcast episodes, I mentioned how mice have the same type of cardiovascular systems, the same types of nervous systems, and many other, digestive systems, things like that. They just have a very shorter lifespan, so it's easier to study them, especially in a laboratory setting. But they're reversing blindness in mice. That is absolutely amazing. And then the mice that they reversed gray hair in, absolutely amazing. So in a moment, you're about to discover how to break some of these boundaries. You might be wondering, what does high performance health, what does longevity, and what does health span look like? And health span is a little bit different than lifespan. Lifespan is the duration between birth and death, and health span is how long you stay healthy in that duration. So what does health span look like? Is it guessing? Nope, no guessing here. We test, just like when we talk about getting you well, right? We use at-home health tests, these functional medicine lab tests that are done right in the privacy of your own home. They can be done by any naturopathic doctor. They can be done by any level 2 integrative health practitioner like myself. We can do them at loveenergywellness.com. And what these lab tests do is they look for the underlying root causes. But we go beyond that. In high performance health, in our upcoming high performance energy program, and I mentioned High Performance Health. This is the certification program run by Dr. Stephen Cabral. So big shout out to him for the amazing work that he's doing in this world. He's the founder of the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, my mentor, and I will link up the High Performance Health program in the show notes today. If you're interested in that, you can check that out. But what High Performance Health is, it starts off with 18 biomarkers of aging. So there are 18 specific biomarkers for aging that are very, very important to look at to see where are we in these 18 biomarkers. There's also what's called the 10 vitality tests. Now, you may have heard of the 10 mortality tests. Well, this is a different spin on that, and this is bringing vitality to the purpose of using these labs and these tests. And these tests are for physical performance. They're also for blood work. So yes, blood work is important here. And this is why it's integrative health and not alternative medicine, right? We're utilizing conventional medicine to our advantage, as well as utilizing the functional medicine labs like the Big Five, which I'll put that link in the show notes as well. And my friend, genetic testing as well. This is genetic. This isn't like 23andMe. This isn't, anything like that. This is looking at your ApoE genotype, which is very, very important as a marker for susceptibility to things like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and knowing where you stand there, because your genetics are not your destiny. You have the same genes that you had when you were younger. So if you have an issue now, it's not because of your genetics. It's because, like, you have the same genetics. So if you didn't have it then and you have it now, nothing changed in your genetic profile except for the epigenetics. And epigenetics is the upregulation or downregulation of those genes. So basically, the genes are a blueprint, and we are turning on and off the genes according to the environment that we expose ourselves to. And knowing your ApoE genotype is very important because it knows how susceptible you are for these epigenetics to be easily upregulated or downregulated. Also, genetic testing looks at things like the MTHFR, which has to do with methylation and how easily absorbed things like, methylated vitamins and things like that are for the body, and so much more. I'm not going to get into the genetic testing here. We will do an episode very shortly specifically on genetic testing, because that's something that we can now offer to you at loveenergywellness.com. And then, so next, what do you want to do? You want to change that environment so that those genes are getting upregulated for health, downregulated for disease. And you do that through things like diet, things like exercise, things like stress reduction and toxin removal, and optimizing your sleep. So that's the rest component. And then, of course, emotional balance, because that has a lot to do with it as well. And science-backed supplements, because as we mentioned earlier in the program, that the soil is so depleted, you're not getting the nutrients that you need. So you need to bring in those vitamins. You need to bring in those minerals, and not from some box store or local pharmacy, because that stuff is just, it's marketed for profit and not for health and not for people. So you want to be looking at functional medicine grade, pharmaceutical grade vitamins and minerals that, you're just not going to find in those type of stores. And then, of course, success mindset, because if you have that mindset that you can overcome these things, rest assured, you will overcome. That's working from possibility and not from circumstance. So very, very important. And then next, we move into brain rejuvenation, because this is so important. As I said, Alzheimer's and dementia are on the rise, like mad on the rise here. So brain rejuvenation is definitely something that we work on in High Performance Health. And then, of course, optimizing for longevity. Longevity is what we're optimizing for here. Very, very important to know what you are optimizing for. When you go to a health coach, if they're not asking you what your goals are and what you want to optimize for, maybe you want to optimize for body transformation at first. Maybe you want to lose the weight. Maybe you want to build muscle. But if you are on a program for building muscle for the rest of your life, your longevity is going to be shortened. So at first, it's okay to want to optimize for body transformation, for weight loss, for muscle gain, and then shift into changing the plan to optimizing for longevity and health span as well. So I'm here, as always, to help you avoid failure, help you avoid those all cause mortality. You know, the cardiovascular disease, the high blood pressure, the stroke, the type 2 diabetes. We can absolutely avoid those things and keep you out of being a statistic in that realm. We don't want you to be a statistic. We want you to be, well, actually we do. We want you to be a statistic for longevity. We want you to be that centenarian. We want you to be in that community of people that are able to do things and have the vitality well into their 90s and beyond. And that leads to your success story, having that extraordinary energy, having that vitality. And most importantly, you know, the one thing I ask my clients all the time, beginning of a call, end of the call, how do you feel? Because I want you to feel amazing. I want you to feel empowered, and I want you to feel refreshed and full of vitality and full of energy every single time. I want you to feel relieved, and that leads into the success mindset. So it's, you know, if you were going to focus on one thing and one thing only, how you feel is the most amazing thing to focus on. Absolutely. And feeling amazing is how I want you to be. So your 3 key takeaways today, so we can try to keep this on a short time span here, is chronological age is no longer a factor for wellness. It doesn't matter how old you are at this point. That biological age can be reversed. Those are 2 different things. We'll talk about that in an upcoming episode. Next, most conventional no cure prognoses are an illusion. Those are a limiting belief that whatever you're experiencing, I don't want to say whatever, you know, dis-ease you may have, but whatever health condition you are experiencing, you know, believe in the diagnosis, absolutely, but don't believe in the prognosis. Don't believe, you know, more often than not, when I'm doing some research and I look something up, it'll say XYZ has no cure. However, managing the symptoms can be done in this fashion. And that is just, you know, that's setting people up for a limiting belief. If you're relying on Dr. Google, and you're looking something up and it tells you that there's no cure, I mean, what's that doing to your belief and your mindset? So having that success mindset, you know, don't believe in that prognosis. Definitely not. And number 3, we have the clinical proof that science is finally catching up to, this clinical proof where we can discover the underlying root causes of imbalances in the body. Then we can rebalance the body so that you can become so healthy that dis-ease of the body cannot exist. And then we can optimize for whatever it is that you want to optimize for on that journey, whether it be body transformation, moving into longevity. And I will link all this up in the show notes for today's episode. Again, I'm so grateful that I get to do this and bring this information to you, because this is the cutting edge. This is the leading edge of health, right? This is the future of health happening now. It is today that this is happening. Absolutely possible, 100% possible, 100% of the time is where we work from. I want you to stay tuned for the next episode of the Breaking Boundaries podcast. We're going to be getting into identity on our next Mind Your Monday episode, where I talk about how we attract those who support our identity, whether this is stagnation or things like abuse or even addiction. So tune in for that. I'm grateful for you listening today. Please share this episode and leave a review so that we can help more people. And we will see you next time to help you with breaking boundaries. Bye-bye, everybody. Before you go, I want to make sure you don't miss out on this free offer from our partner, Equalife, the global leader in functional medicine. This week, they're giving away an all-organic, full-spectrum, calming CBD oil. That's right, absolutely free. If you've been listening for a while, you know that I've said many times that the best way to help somebody get their body into a healing mode is to calm the central nervous system. And CBD oil can do just that. It can help with things like anxiety, with sleep. It can even help with pain and healthy levels of inflammation and so much more when it comes to overall healing. And it's absolutely all natural. It's completely safe for children. It's in a liquid form because it's oil. You can dose it for your children, and it's even safe for pets. So this week, while supplies last, you can get this at a $50 value with all qualifying orders. I want you to get yours today. You can find it at loveenergywellness.com/shop, or simply click on the link in the show notes. You don't want to miss this offer.